Good morning. Today's Moravian reading is Philippians 1, 12 to 22. Probably in your Bible it would be marked Paul's chains advance the gospel. I want to give some context. I want to read the text actually, and I want to offer a couple of reflections. So the context is this was written from a Roman prison. Probably a fairly open prison, although we're not sure, and it was probably around 61 AD. And it was addressed to the Philippi community. Now, this was a Roman colony with a number of retired military men who had been given land as part of their retirement and citizenship of Rome. And as a result, there were few Jews there, meaning that there may not have been a synagogue at all, only house churches. So, if you will, this was written to a group of house churches or missional communities. And there seemed to have been some dispute among some of the leaders of those communities, which is why Paul talks about unity. The lack of synagogue probably also explains why Paul doesn't quote the Old Testament, which is quite unusual for him, really. So let us look at the text. So verse 12, now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it's become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I'm in chains for Christ. And because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. That takes us up to the end of verse 14. And my reflection is that the example is massive. You know, Paul is saying, as a result of me being in chains, most of the brethren, not just a few, but most of the brethren have become confident to share the gospel without fear. And I'd have to say that throughout the whole of my Christian life, it's been probably the biggest thing I've wanted to do, helping other people, is to help them share the gospel without fear. For them, it was fear of being locked up. For us, I'm not quite sure how to address what the fear is. It's something about being inappropriate or being weird. That's probably the sum of it in the UK right now, which leads me to say, is this not a fear we could get beyond? Don't be discouraged. There is really a spiritual hunger around us. I thought during lockdown and the things that we've seen that we'd see a lot more spiritual hunger, but I think the issue is people don't wear it on their sleeves. People are actually spiritually hungry. I started a part-time job a while ago, and on one of my first days somebody asked me what I did besides this, and I said that I ran a small church and that right now we were running Alpha. And they said to me, do you know, I would love to see that material. I feel there's a real need in my life. So I passed them the links that we have so that they could look at the Alpha material. And I think out of that, it just helps me to think, remember, let me say to you, remember, we need to speak of what we've seen and heard and what we do and what's real, but we don't need to be pushy. Let's go on to verse 15. It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defence of the gospel. I'm going to move on slightly to verse 20. I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have sufficient courage so that now as always Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, this famous verse, Philippians 1:21, for to me to live is Christ and to die is gain. If I'm going to go on living in the body, this is a fruitful labour for me. Yet what shall I choose? I don't know. And my reflection is, how challenging is that? Paul is saying that for him, life was all about Jesus. And as a result, dying is therefore an entry into something greater. So let me just pose this question. In our complex worlds, juggling family and work, checking our bank balances and our weekly shop, eyeing social media and cultural norms, and all the things that are very legitimate and important to run our normal lives. But in all of that, can we rethink the place we give Jesus? Can we let him ascend in our values so that we rejoice in him at all times, speak of him when we can, and make choices to reflect his kingship? Have a great day.